Joining us now is our guest, Sinan Ciddi. Now, the SDF helped crush ISIS and it now controls big chunks of northeast Syria. So from their perspective, why should they give all of that up? Is their demand for autonomy really that surprising to anyone here?
Well, that's the big question. And no, it shouldn't come as a surprise, given everything that's going on inside of Syria for the last 6 months since the Julani or Shura government essentially took over. Because since they have taken over, this whole sort of supposed Syrian government is, for the Kurds, at least the Syrian Democratic Forces, what is intended, for all intents and purposes, a farce, a charade, right? We've seen at least 2 major attacks against the Alawite minorities. And now we're seeing a major sort of attack going against significant parts of the Druze community in Suwaid and southern Syria. And for the Kurdish sort of enclaves under the Democratic Autonomous Administration in northeast Syria, as this, under the umbrella of this Syrian Democratic Forces, they're basically looking at this and thinking, well, we're probably next. They just do not have any faith in the capability and the ability of this, the Shura government in being able to provide, unified government. And let's not forget that when the new Syrian government under Shura proclaimed its new draft constitution back in March, that new constitution proclaimed Syria as an Arab republic against the basic sort of agreement which the Kurds and Shura essentially talked about. And that's not what the Kurds want. And despite the fact that, the US government is giving them an ultimatum saying join or else, that's not something that the Syrian Kurds are going to go for, because they don't want to be subjugated to the authority of a Sunni state, because previously they were subjugated to the authority of a minority Alawite government under Bashar al-Assad, which was no fun. And they certainly don't want to do that again under a Sunni sort of majority government.
So, I guess the next question that I have for you is, with 50,000 plus fighters, U.S. backing, and Turkey demanding disarmament, how might this deadline shift the power dynamics in Syria, especially if the talks fall apart? Because you're essentially suggesting that there's a very little chance that within 30 days, the SDF is going to be listening to this so-called deadline.
Correct. I don't think this is going to sort of move the needle for the SDF one way or another, just because the United States is demanding in 30 days that the SDF integrate or else. Our experience with the Syrian Kurds or the Kurdish wider movement in the region, suggests that they will just capitulate and just give up and fold and get in line and join the Shura government. If you look at what's going on inside of Syria right now, in terms of what is essentially taking place, a massacre of sort of Druze citizens or Syrian Druze inside of Zuwaida, with Bedouin fighters, or for all intents and purposes, jihadists going uncontrolled, sort of, killing these minority communities. The SDF is looking at this and thinking, well, if we lay down our weapons, give up our command structure, and fold ourselves into this sort of so-called Syrian army, then we will essentially be defenseless. We will not be able to defend our communities, our people, the ability to provide them security and protection. Why would we do that? We just spent the better part of a decade during the Syrian civil war protecting our people from the likes of ISIS. Let's not forget sort of major battles like Kobani, but also the massacres against the Yazidis, which the SDF was instrumental essentially in fighting against, protecting, right? And so there really is no motivation, just because, countries such as Turkey or the United States is pressuring the SDF to do this. It's just not going to happen. It's not a function of reality.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for joining us. Very interesting to hear your perspective.